Hello everyone, this is Chapter 4, Birth and the Newborn Baby. Okay, so approaches to childbirth have changed over time, and our attitudes and the way that we go through the birthing process are molded by society's views and, what's the most current, what's new in research. But before the late 1800s, we mostly had home births. And that's where you would hear, like on movies, go boil the water, get the sheets. I'm still not exactly sure what that means, but again, it was to sanitize and everything was done at home. After the Industrial Revolution, then we had hospitals. So more births were starting to be done at hospitals. But then again, back in the 50s and 60s, they started moving more towards natural childbirth, going without medication, things like that. And now we have a mixture of everything, right? We have birthing centers, we have midwives, hospital births, home births, water births, all kinds of things. And again, home births are still happening nowadays, but the hospital birth is most common. Now, to prepare for childbirth, most people take some kind of classes, and they recommend, do something to relax yourself, some breathing techniques. Lamaze class is recommended, and having a labor coach. They find, having someone there to support you is extremely important because you're going through birth, and during that time you're in extreme stress. So someone else who's been through the classes with you can kind of help keep you calm and keep you breathing and relaxed. So again, if it's the other parent, a friend, a family member, someone there for support. Now, the 3 stages of labor. So stage 1 is dilation. When they say she's 10 centimeters dilated, that's part of stage 1. And also transitioning the baby so that the head is towards the birth canal. Stage 2 is the actual pushing, and notice you see the baby's head kind of changes shape to get through that canal. And actually being born is part of stage 2. Now stage 3 is actually delivering the placenta. That's the third part of the birthing process. Now, cesarean or C-sections have become popular. Again, it was rare 40 years ago, but now it's something that's more common. About 31% of births in the United States are born through C-sections. Now, they should only be scheduled for medical emergencies, such as, the baby's in danger, the mom's in danger. There's some things listed here like separation of the placenta, the baby's in the wrong position, infection. All of those are major concerns, so that's where a C-section is warranted. Now, I think we all hear those stories of people who, I have my birth scheduled for my, to fit into my work schedule. Most doctors don't do that. Again, if you have money, many times you can have opportunities that others don't have. But, we even have commercials nowadays, recommending for women to wait as long as possible to give birth because it's in the baby's best interest. Okay, so what do newborn babies look like? What are they going through? Well, they are born to adapt. And that birthing process is extremely traumatic for infants. They're coming from that warm, cushiony environment, which we've talked about as amniotic fluid. And then they're coming from, again, a warm liquid environment to an oxygen environment with lights, with noise, cold air. It can be traumatic, but they're born to withstand that trauma. Now, their appearance, they have a very large head in comparison to the rest of their body. At birth, our head is almost half the size of our body. And then as we get older in adolescence, adulthood, our head accounts for about a quarter of the size of our body. And what we're going to concentrate now for the rest of the chapter is on the APGAR scale. Nurses will assess the baby immediately after birth and give them a score based on this APGAR scale. So APGAR stands for appearance, pulse, grimace, activity, and respiration. So I'm going to show you on the next slide, what do all of those mean and how do they come up with the different scores? So they look at heart rate, and again, you can have a score from 0 to 2, depending on how the baby is doing. So as you can see, the zeros are very weak or non-existent. No heartbeat, no breathing, no response, completely limp, blue body and legs. Scores of 1 are kind of in the middle. The heartbeat's not too strong, there's some kind of issue with breathing, the reflexes are weak, weak movement, the body's pink but the arms are blue. And scores of 2 are strong. Strong heartbeat, strong breathing, strong reflexes, strong movement. And notice with the color. So blue tint or a blue tone shows that oxygen is not moving correctly through the body. And pretty much regardless of race or ethnicity, most children are born with that pink tone. And it's kind of nature's way of showing us, are they healthy or do they need some kind of assistance? So looking here, I want you to kind of think about what could be the lowest score and what could be the highest score. Well, we have 5 areas for a maximum score of 2 in each area. So 5 times 2, 10. 10 would be your max score. And again, you could have a score of 0, but the child would not be living. So again, good physical condition would be a combined score of 7 and above. So they may have some 1s there, but maybe it's just something that can be treated. Scores of 4 to 6, there's some kind of breathing issues, again, movement, reflexes, heartbeat, something's going on. And a score of 3 or below, you need emergency medical assistance. So I've asked in the past of those students who've given birth, how many of them remember the APGAR score being called out? Most parents don't. Again, you have so many other things going on, but it is your right as a parent to ask for their score, and it should be written in their chart. So just something to be aware of. Now, we talked in the previous chapter about teratogens and how that affects children, or I'm sorry, the developing organism. So now that the babies are born, what are they going through? Well, premature actually means low birth weight and or preterm. So under premature, it could be 2 things, right? It could be if you're born 3 weeks or more before the end of a 38-week pregnancy, that's considered preterm. Or if they weigh less than 5.5 pounds, that's considered low birth weight. So now let's look at those broken down. Low birth weight babies tend to have a lot of illnesses, colds, asthma, unexplained fever, just constantly getting sick. We notice here there's also inattentiveness or overactiveness, issues with language delay, difficulties in school. I will say I have family members who were born low birth weight, and some are extremely resilient. They have no medical issues. They're fine. While others, again, in my own family, basically everything I see on this list is things that they deal with. Illness, the child had language delay, difficulties in school, inattentiveness, overattention. So we do see these, again, this is not every case. I have twin sons who are both under 5 pounds each, and again, that would be considered low birth weight. They were also preterm, so they were premature, but they don't have those kind of developmental issues. Again, maybe because they're a twin, but I'm not exactly sure. Now, preterm infants may still be small, but their weight could be appropriate. But the ones you want to be concerned about are small for date infants. So when they're born, let's say they're born and you're expecting them to be at the 38th week of pregnancy and they weigh 3 pounds or extremely small when you've been pregnant for 38 weeks. So those children tend to have more problems, developmental issues. And again, there's nothing that usually can be done because they're already born. So that's something where prenatal care comes into account. Maybe they could see with something going on during the prenatal periods. So a study in Hawaii found that as long as your birth complications were not too severe, a supportive home environment could restore your growth. So what does that sound like? Birth complications, but a supportive environment, that's nurture, right? So they're saying that even when you're born with the cards stacked against you, if you have a parent who's understanding and goodness of fit and sets up the environment so that you can succeed, the child still has a chance of developing at a normal rate. Now, some children, even with poor home environments, are able to overcome those birth complications, but notice they still need some kind of support from a coach, from a teacher, an outside family member. But they need someone there to be that resiliency factor for them. And notice here, innate resilience. Being born with the capacity to overcome things is an important factor in the development of children. And again, we foster that in children by being positive role models in their lives. Okay, and lastly here is sudden infant death syndrome. Again, one of the saddest things in terms of infant death, it's the leading cause, it's unexpected, and it's usually unexplained. Some children are completely healthy, go to bed, and don't wake up. So why is that happening? Well, it's typically under a year old. Sometimes they show signs of physical problems. Sometimes they are premature, low birth weight, or have respiratory infections. And sometimes, literally, like I said, it's unexplained. But it's the leading cause of death. So what I want you as a class now to do is you're going to see a video about a monitor that is supposed to help reduce sudden infant death syndrome. I also want you to read an article about the monitors, and it's kind of the opposite view of monitors. And then you're going to participate in an activity where you kind of share your own thoughts about these baby monitors and if they're worthy for children to use, if they're more risk than they're worth. So please go back to Blackboard and continue on with this chapter's content.